Hey gamers, Hurricane here. I've got an interesting one for you today. Okay, a friend of mine, we worked on some projects back in the past. I'll give you the whole details. Asked me to review a game that he's in the process of. It's not quite published yet, and give my honest thoughts on it. Okay, so here it is. This is what I'm going to do. First of all, MisAdventure Games is written by Marc Braden. Now, Mark and I go back several years. We were working on a project together through D3 Adventures. Unfortunately, D3 ended up closing because of a nasty hurricane in Houston and flooding the offices. So that shut down. So the project never got finished, never got published, unfortunately. Mark and I have our differences of opinion on a few different things. As far as gaming philosophy, no big deal. You know, everybody's got their own thing. So when he asked me to review this, I thought this was interesting. Let's take a peek at it. So I haven't played it, but I've gone through and I've read through what he's gotten. Now, this is I'll reiterate this later, but this is kind of an early version. It's not released yet. It's in layout phase, which means it's not quite even all entirely written, but most of what's left are just typos and some fluff text here and there, things like that. So it's a fairly intact system-wise version. All right. So that said, MisAdventure Games, and I'm going to have links in the description to the Drive-Thru RPG page and the Facebook group for this particular group, so you guys can ask him questions and give him feedback if you're familiar with it or whatever. So you'll see that. So MisAdventure Games, and this is the cover. You know, it is black and white, and intentionally. It's designed as, it's not really a roll or D20 compatible system. It's not really a D&D system, but it's kind of designed that way. So you got your typical ability scores: strength, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, etc. But the system functions a little bit differently. You have your bonuses to those like you would normally have them in a D20 system, but instead of a D20, this system uses 2D6. So you roll your 2d6 to see if you hit, modify it with your skill. Does that exceed their defense? There you go. Other things that they do that are very interesting is the damage is very minimal. Okay, the big weapons like a machine gun is 2d6. Most of your weapons will do die 6. Some will even do die 3 with a few different bonuses. So everything that I've seen, and I only looked through it briefly, was functioning up die 6s, which, has the benefit of everybody has dice floating around from Yahtzee or whatever. So it was an interesting approach to that. Armor is also a damage reduction mechanic. Now, I've seen optional rules for years in old D&Ds and whatnot that have a damage reduction system, but I've never seen it implemented as the mainstay of the game in a game quite like this. There's a few of them out there that do it. But so that's an interesting mechanic. So if I hit you, let's say I shoot you with a short bow, this die 3 plus 1 damage, and then take that and compare it with your armor, you'll take 2 less off of it, for example. So the damage numbers are really, really, really small. Very, very much like old school RPGs. It's also designed for several different settings, for lack of a better word, or eras. They refer to it as ancient, which is really medieval stuff. Bows, chainmail, plate mail, swords, axes, things along that line. And then they've got modern, and then they've got futuristic. So it's covers 3 different eras. You can kind of adjust it as you want. And naturally, of course, futuristic armor is a little bit more, had damage absorbing than medieval armor. It's kind of to be expected. It's designed that way. Otherwise, we'd all be wearing plate mail. Well, those of us who could move in plate mail, which is not me. But so that's an interesting aspect of it as well. Now, the system, without having tested it, naturally will have a few different changes to it. It'd be very different running in 2d6 with a modifier than with a die 20. Without getting into the statistics a whole bunch, a die 20 is a flat ratio, flat percentage system. A 2 dice 6 will have a bump. Okay, not a sharp bump compared to some other systems, but a bump. So depending on where the target's hit, like if I'm rolling a 2 dice 6 and I need an 11 or 12, so it's over the hump, that starts to get a little tricky. If I need an 8, then chances of success are incredible. So I'd have to see how actual combat would play out. But it's an interesting concept. It's an interesting approach. I haven't seen anything quite like it. And as I said, they keep the system really, really minimal. 2 dice is the biggest I've seen in there. Again, quick glance, so I might have missed something. But yeah, it's not one of those roll 85 dice and see if you hit sort of things. Or it's not one of those I roll 15 dice to see how much damage I do. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. They do have magic in there. I really briefly glanced at that. So that'll be interesting from that point as well. So I'm going to give you guys the links on what you need to know about it. Again, MisAdventure Games. And check it out. See what you think. Give it your feedback. If it were my opinion, I'd kind of give it a thumbs up. I think it's an interesting approach. I think it's a different mechanic. And I'm all for something that, trying something new. So that's my personal take. You guys can, each do your own. Because everybody's got their own enjoy, everybody's got their own love, everybody's got their own game, and there's nothing wrong with that. As long as people are gaming, I'm having fun. So I will talk to you later, and may the Schwartz be with you. Ciao.